All right. So you know how sometimes you just want to
Yeah.
you want to sound smarter?
Uh-huh.
Like you're trying to explain something. You're like, well,
Right.
there's got to be like a better word for that.
Totally.
Today we're diving into this really cool script all about expanding your vocabulary. It gives
Nice.
us like a bunch of practical ways to like learn new words and actually use them.
Yeah, like not just memorizing a dictionary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about making those words part of like your everyday language.
I like that everyday language.
Yeah.
So like less about becoming a walking thesaurus,
Right.
more about just expressing yourself more clearly and confidently.
And who knows, maybe you'll learn some fancy words to drop in your next presentation or something.
It's funny you mentioned that because what really struck me about this script is
Yeah.
it kind of dives into the psychology of learning.
Oh,
It's not just about like rote memorization.
yeah.
It's about understanding how our brains actually like
Yeah.
absorb and retain information.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we want to sound smart, but we don't want to spend all day studying.
Right?
So the script suggests starting small,
Uh-huh.
like 5 to 10 words a day.
Yeah, I love that approach.
It's totally doable.
Totally. Because if you think about it, like
Yeah.
if you try to learn a whole new language in one sitting,
Oh my gosh.
your brain would just be fried.
You'd explode.
Totally.
Mm.
Building a vocabulary is kind of similar. You
Yeah.
need to be consistent.
Mm.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's like training for a marathon.
Yeah.
You don't just run 26 miles on the first day.
Right,
You
exactly.
got to like build up to it.
You got to pace yourself.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like we have this goal of like 5 to 10 words a day.
Okay.
But where do we even find these words?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
The script mentions some obvious places like word of the day apps.
Yeah.
Or finally opening that dictionary that's been collecting dust on your shelf.
Oh, yeah. Or like even just reading a book and circling words you don't know.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes. But then they suggest something kind of old school, but also really cool.
Okay, what's that?
Keeping a vocabulary journal.
I love that.
Oh, you do?
Huge fan of the vocabulary journal.
Really?
It's like taking notes, but for your brain.
That's a good way to put it.
You're engaging with the words in a much deeper way.
So it's kind of like combining the
Yeah.
modern tech, like the apps,
Right.
with the physical act of writing things down.
Exactly. It's like the difference between seeing a picture of the Eiffel Tower
Okay.
and actually going to Paris and like experiencing it firsthand.
Right.
You get so much more out of it.
You remember it better?
Totally.
Okay, now let's talk about mnemonics.
Okay.
I am all about a good memory trick.
Me too. Mnemonics are like magic for your memory.
Yeah, and the script really emphasizes like creating vivid associations.
Right.
Like they had this example for the word loquacious,
Okay.
which means like talkative.
Right.
And they suggest picturing someone like talking nonstop on a loco train ride.
Oh, that's a good one. I love how they used a pun there.
Yeah, like loco.
It's a mnemonic within a mnemonic.
Inception.
Exactly.
But seriously, like
Yeah.
you're not going to forget that image.
No way. And that's the whole point of mnemonics, right?
It's brilliant. Like our brains are wired for stories.
Totally. We remember narratives so much better than just like isolated facts.
So when you turn a word into a story or a funny image,
Yeah.
it just sticks.
It creates a stronger neural connection.
It's like giving those words a personality.
I like that. Giving words a personality.
Yeah, like making them come alive.
All right. So we've got our apps, we've got our journals, we've got our crazy mnemonics.
Yeah.
What else does this script have in store for us?
Well, they talk about something called active reading,
Oh, yeah. Active reading. I'm a big fan of that.
which is like,
It's not just passively flipping through the pages.
right. It's like,
It's about engaging with the material, underlining words you don't know,
yeah,
looking up definitions.
really like wrestling with the text.
Yeah. Wrestling is a good word for it.
But you know what I find?
Was that?
Sometimes I get so caught up in like highlighting everything.
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. It's like you end up with a whole page of yellow.
And then you're like, okay, I don't remember what any of this means.
Right. It becomes meaningless.
So it's really about like
Yeah,
quality over quantity.
absolutely.
Mm.
It's not about highlighting every other word.
Right.
It's about actively looking for context clues,
Oh, that's good.
etymology,
Okay.
even synonyms and antonyms within the text itself.
Wow. So it's like a treasure hunt for meaning.
Exactly. Think of it like that. A treasure hunt.
It's like being a word detective.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have a confession.
Okay.
I am a podcast addict.
Oh, nice. Me too.
And guess what?
What?
The script recommends listening to podcasts as a way to learn new words.
That makes so much sense
Right.
because you're hearing the words in context. You're
Yeah.
hearing like natural inflection and pacing.
It's like eavesdropping on a conversation.
Right. It's like, but like a really smart conversation
Yeah, exactly.
where they're using all these cool words.
And you're just like soaking it all in.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about flashcards.
Okay.
They might seem kind of old school,
Yeah.
but the script actually argues that they're still a really powerful tool.
I think so too.
And with apps like Anki and Quizlet,
Oh, yeah.
you can even like gamify the process.
Those apps are great because they use something called spaced repetition.
Space repetition.
Yeah. It's basically like
What is that?
it's an algorithm that figures out when you're most likely to forget a word,
Okay.
and then it shows you that word right before you're about to forget it.
So it's like it's keeping you on your toes.
Exactly. It's
It's
like a
like-
personal trainer for your vocabulary,
I like it.
making sure you're getting those reps in.
So instead of like cramming all the words at once,
Right.
it's about strategically revisiting them over time.
Exactly.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
What's the point of learning all these amazing words?
If we're just going to keep them locked away in our vocabulary journals,
Totally agree.
like we got to actually use them, right?
Absolutely. The script emphasizes the importance of using new words in conversation and writing.
So it's like taking them for a test drive.
I, I love that analogy.
Don't just admire them from afar.
Right.
Take them out for a spin.
See how they handle in the real world.
And speaking of making learning fun,
Yes.
the script throws in an idea that I think you'll appreciate.
Okay, what's that?
Word games.
Word games are fantastic.
You love word games.
They're a great way to like
Yeah.
engage in low pressure practice.
It's like a mental playground.
Exactly. You can experiment with language.
Try different combinations.
See how words interact with each other.
The script mentions like the classics like Scrabble and crosswords.
Yeah.
But also like all those addictive word building apps.
Oh, yeah. Those are dangerous.
I have to admit I'm a bit of a wordscapes addict myself.
Oh, I know what you mean. Those apps are so good at like tapping into our desire for challenge and reward.
Like you get that little dopamine hit when you find a word.
Exactly. And the best part is you're expanding your vocabulary without even realizing it.
You're like, oh, I'm just playing a game.
Right.
But you're actually learning.
But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so what's so interesting about word games?
Well, they're great for practice and all.
Yeah.
But they tend to focus on like shorter, more common words.
Right. Like the words you'd use in Wordle or something.
Exactly. But the real challenge is using those longer, more nuanced words.
Yeah, the words that make people go, whoa, did they just use that word?
Right. Like instead of saying smart, you say erudite.
Okay, yeah, I see your point.
It's about leveling up your vocabulary.
But how do we do that?
Well, the script emphasizes conscious effort.
Okay, so it's not going to happen automatically.
Right. You have to make a deliberate choice to use those new words.
Even if it feels kind of awkward at first.
Yeah, exactly. It's like anything new. It takes practice.
But isn't there a risk of sounding like pretentious?
That's a good question. But I don't think so. It's all about context.
Okay, so like
Like you wouldn't use the word mellifluous to describe your morning coffee.
mellifluous coffee.
That's funny.
Right. But you might use it to describe a beautiful piece of music.
Ah, okay. So it's about matching the word to the occasion.
Exactly. And with practice, it becomes more natural.
Like anything else. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Think of it like learning a new dance move.
Okay.
At first, it feels all awkward and clunky,
Yeah, you're like stepping on your partner's toes.
but the more you practice, the smoother it becomes.
And eventually you're not even thinking about it.
You're just flowing.
So we're basically trying to make these new words part of our like linguistic DNA.
Exactly.
Well-
Integrate them into our natural expression.
And the script wraps up with a really important reminder.
What's that?
Consistency is key.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't agree more.
It's not about like reaching a finish line and being like, okay, I'm done. I have a perfect vocabulary now.
Right. It's an ongoing journey.
It's a lifelong love affair with language. I love that. A love affair with language.
And the rewards go way beyond just sounding impressive.
Oh, absolutely. Having a rich vocabulary opens up so many doors.
Like what?
It allows you to understand complex ideas, appreciate subtle nuances, express yourself with more precision.
It's like having a superpower.
It kind of is. It's like having a more vibrant palette of colors to paint with.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So to wrap things up, I have a question for you, dear listener.
Okay, hit me.
What one new word will you commit to learning and using today?
Ooh, that's a good challenge.
It could be a word you've always admired or one that perfectly captures a feeling you've struggled to express.
Whatever it is, make that word yours.
Write it down,
Yeah.
use it in a sentence, share it with a friend.
We'd love to hear your chosen word.
Share it on social media, tag us, and you might even get featured in a future deep dive.
Until next time, keep those dictionaries handy and those minds curious.